Okay, so I'm going to talk about the competition preparation the last few weeks leading up to competition. And this is what I've done since the beginning of my second year. So January 2022 is when I started. No, sorry. I didn't even start arm wrestling January 2022. Okay. Or, no, I did. But 2023. Okay, so yeah, January 2023 is when I started doing this type of preparation for my competitions. Before that, I didn't really train speed or do any sort of tapering. I just kind of rested for, 5 days a week and then showed up to competition. But since I started doing this, my tournament performance increased quite a lot. So, some of the basics, I guess. First of all, as you're going towards your competition from period, let's say, beyond 4 weeks before the competition, you're going to want to increase your training weights and reduce the training volume. Make sure that you're feeling pretty fresh when you're training, but you can train really hard, like heavy. Not necessarily huge volumes. Still do a little bit of pump work, but that's kind of what I've done in the past, and it's always worked very well. Kind of like powerlifting, you're gonna want to peak your strength and get that neuromuscular activation where you can really apply your full power. So beyond that period leading up to the competition, you're building your strength and muscle, so you're getting your muscles bigger, and then as you get closer, you're going to start to reduce the volume and increase the weight. That way you can really increase the strength of the muscle that you've built. So let's just say right now I'm actually doing this. So I have provincials is in May. It is now almost the middle of March. There's about 8 weeks or so until the competition. So the last 2 weeks are going to be dedicated competition prep. But from now until then, I am slowly increasing the weight. Right now I'm keeping the volume constant, so I'm increasing the weight with the volume the same. And then once I get to halfway to that competition, so when there's about 4 weeks left or so, I'm gonna increase the weight even more, but start reducing the number of reps. So that's like the basic of the strength training portion. Now you get to the almost more important portion, because you probably already have been working on your strength training this whole time, and it's more important to start working on the actual competition prep that's going to really increase your performance. So aside from being strong, which was just covered, this is the last part. So let's say the last 2 weeks before your competition is the dedicated competition prep. Before this, you're training hard, you're getting strong, and occasionally at practice you do some ready goes to, always have a little bit of familiarity with starts and stuff. But the last 2 weeks is really where, for me, maybe 3 weeks, last 2 weeks is really where you're gonna dial in your starts and get your speed to that next level that you didn't have during the previous part of the prep. So what I like to do is that last 2 weeks I'll have maybe the 2 weeks before I'll have a hard practice, and then I will have the option for one more heavy workout and one more practice, which is not going to be heavy. So the last practice shouldn't be too crazy. You do not, this is the most important part, do not strain your tendons or your muscles heavily in the last few weeks before your competition. You don't want to be like me. Before the competition last August, I was definitely highly strained and I ended up tearing my bicep. So you want to be fresh, okay? But you can still do one heavy workout, low volume only. Now, more important than that, so you're fresh, you've got your 2 weeks, you did a heavy workout maybe a week and a half before the competition, but you still want to do a little bit of work, right? So during those 2 weeks, I would say every other day, maybe every third day, but every other day I think is the better. You're gonna work on speed. So to work on speed, either you can use elastic bands, the pulley, or with a person, and the person who is going to work on speed with you is not going to provide any resistance. They're only there to allow you to feel the proper direction of your hip. And they're only there to provide something for you to hold on to at the start position. They're not going to catch heavily. They're not going to stop you dead in your tracks. You have to go all the way from the starting position, and a real starting position, no cupping at all, no shoulder commitment, like a real proper starting position. And they're going to let you go all the way below the pin pad. So you want to be training your speed as perfectly as possible. You want it to be fast, explosive, and accurate to what you're going to be able to do in a competition. So in a competition, you know all the rules for setting up, right? So people in practice, you start a little, in practice it's not as serious. You don't need to be in a perfect starting position. But for this is absolutely necessary. So I'll show you how I like to do it. And right now I have an elastic band set up on the pulley system. So I got the pulley with the elastic. If you don't have the this thing, the pulley, you can set the elastic on the corner or on the side of the table. It's going to change the forces that you feel. But you want to set up your elastic that's going to match the direction of force that you want to apply when you do your start. So for me, I'm posting top roll, so I'm always trying to keep my pronation and my rise. Now the resistance on the elastic shouldn't be too heavy. At the start position, it should be relatively light. You don't want to be burning yourself out during speed training. This is peak performance training. You can't go into it tired. You can't do this when you're not able to concentrate. So you want to do this maybe separate of your other training, and it's about frequency and getting that neuromuscular connection going. So I'm going to demonstrate. So I like to set up exactly like I will in a competition. Okay, so elbows on the pad, choose your elbow position, inside or outside, shoulders are square, the hand is neutral, and the position is obviously relatively close to the center of the table. So get your position. Now, ideally, you're going to have somebody call out go or ready go for you. So I'll usually have somebody do those both, but in the absence of, I'll just demonstrate. Okay, so you're going to do your move. So in my case, it's a top roll. And you're going to come all the way below the pin pad. So wherever your pin pad would be, maybe it's about this high, you're going to try to come below it. because in competition, somebody's going to try to stop you, and you want to be going beyond where they're going to try to stop you. That way you have a continuous increase in your force, and it's going to just result in a flash pin rather than having to then work from a position, right? Flash pins are the goal. You always want to be fast and get rid of your opponent quickly before you get tired, right? Okay, so let's just, what else do we want to cover? Okay, so how many of these should you do in one of those training sessions? So last 2 weeks, like I said, every other day you're doing these training sessions, and let's say the competition, it's gonna be, you don't know if it's go or ready go, so you're gonna train both. Usually you're gonna know what the start call is, but I like to do both. It helps to get yourself ready for either situation, right? So let's just say it's go, and then you're gonna have your partner or somebody call the starts for you, and they're going to do 3 repetitions. So you're gonna do 3 goes, and then you can, let's say, do 3 ready goes. And then you're gonna rest for a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes. Now, you're not really using a lot of strength, but you wanna be really focusing on listening for that go. So you hear even the slightest G, and you're, boom, moving as fast as you can. You can record yourself or have somebody watch you and watch your form. So you're not lifting your elbow, you're not hopping, you're not doing any false starts, and you're not also delaying your start because you're worried about false starting. So this is your chance to really work on all of those aspects that we don't practice at practice most of the time. And how many sets I like to do until I usually feel pretty good with my performance. So maybe the first set isn't gonna be as good, and you're just starting to do this type of training. It's gonna be, your goes might not be right on time, or your movement, your hit might not be accurate to what you want to do, right? Like you can do hook, you can do all your different possible moves, especially depending where you put your elastics. But you want to get your movement dialed, so it's going to be accurate to how you want to hit in competition. I like to do between 3 and 5 sets. So the whole speed workout is only going to take 15 minutes or so, but it's going to really help the starting speed. And the last one I'll do probably with at least 2 days before the competition. So let's say competition is Saturday, the last speed workout will be on Wednesday night, and or maybe Thursday. I've done that before. Important notes, I guess, or other things you can do. You don't need to use a strap, but if you do, I like to use the thumb wrap or the like a riser one like that. You can do it right over, or like off the knuckle. You can use a multi-spinner. So let's just pretend the multi-spinner was hooked up. All right, I'll hook it up. Right. Okay, you can use a multi-spinner. You don't need to use something. I've put a squeeze ball in my hands just so I have the feeling of something in my hand, and then done my hits without the elastic. you can set just a single elastic on the side of the table. Maybe you want to do your hits without the pulley, or you don't have the pulley. So I'll just put it around the leg loop here. So this will be kind of an accurate position in terms of the angle of your hip. Okay? Remember, your elbow moves exactly as you would in real life. And I didn't cup, so on my next one, I noticed, oh, I didn't cup there, so I'm going to try to do everything correctly, right? Okay, so you see my elbow ended at the back of the pad, but it didn't come off. I went all the way down. I cupped at the same time. That would be a very good example of like a top roll hit. Now, I've never really practiced like press or hook, but you can do that. It all applies exactly the same way, except maybe you're going to set your elastic off the side, depending on what type of move you're working on. So a very quick overview. Leading up to the competition, from beyond 6 weeks to the competition, like prior to 6 weeks before the competition, you're building your strength, doing your regular general training. Then the next 4 weeks, so from week 6 to week 2 before the competition, you're now tapering your workouts to increase your maximum power and to increase and you're slightly reducing your volume. So you're really tuning up your strength. Then the last 2 weeks, you might do one more strength workout and you're gonna hit everything in that workout. You're gonna get your cup, your pronation, side pressure, back pressure, everything covered in that workout, maybe a week or a week and a half before the competition. But during that whole time, you're also doing speed training. So every other day, you're gonna do the hits as was shown. And altogether, that will be a pretty good competition prep cycle.